in the workflow compared to the US. The US was even something that they selected. I remember yesterday. I looked.
But yeah, it kind of goes like it kind of just reflects what I said earlier. It's just the Europe's just further down the path, I think. It's just on all, because there's more electronic, a greater percentage of the market trades more electronically, and thus they're more open to looking to automate that. So I think with the AI thing is a bit funny, right? Because it's kind of obviously everyone's interested in it, but no one's really doing that much in it. Really, if you start digging into it, and I think that will start to, and it's fraught with issues as well in terms of bias and lack of training data to actually build these models. So if you dig deeper into it, into actually some of these clients and what they're doing, I think the ones that are more advanced are kind of now coming out with stories, saying that actually there isn't a pot of gold, or the pot of gold is not quite as big as they thought, or is maybe not even there anyway. So it's, it's a theme. It's something, we can talk about, I think, if we want to go more into what firms should be doing around that, so especially around machine learning, we can talk about, worth exploring, but having quite concrete use cases in terms of what if they're looking to build a model, what are they looking for it to actually achieve, right? Because automation there's so many moving parts in the automation lifecycle, right? Whether it's selecting the order, triggering the automation, choosing the brokers, responding or evaluating the best responses. There's numerous places you could use machine learning. So it's kind of like picking a defined use case to start somewhere along that pipeline, somewhere where you've actually got some data and like good quality, clean data as well. And then it's kind of a question of experimenting with the desk and try building a model, put it in production, get the data, and then evaluate whether you've actually seen an uplift or has it actually improved the outcome, right? So the other thing around all this is kind of, well, what are you trying to measure by using this model anyway? What's the outcome? Is it P&L? Is it kind of, being able to trade further inside of a benchmark, whatever your benchmark might be? So it's having more structure around. I think there needs to be. It sounds a bit obvious, but there needs to be structure around where you want to use machine learning and the KPIs around that as well. That's probably advice in terms of what I'd suggest.
Yeah. And Lily, is there anything on those questions that kind of caught your mind, your attention, like in terms of when they say where AI can help?
Yeah. So if you guys have any actual case studies that I could use, that I think that would be potentially an interesting way to take it. You
mean on AI or?
Yeah.
I don't think we have.
No.
Okay.
No, we have automation, things on automation, but not necessarily an AI. So I'm trying to open the file as well. It's not letting me open it. But if you have it in front of you, the answers to the AI in terms of how AI can help and so on, do you mind reviewing them 1 second? I can't open the document for some reason.
Yeah, let me just find. I think they said industry security pricing composites would be the main benefit.
To use AI?
Yeah.
Okay, read it again, sorry?
Better industry security pricing composites that can improve post-trade performance benchmarking.
Okay. And there was another one. Is that the next one? I think was what would be the incentive? I think we have one, no?
Yeah. So that was the greatest benefit, and then the one after that was the biggest challenge. So that was the lack of qualified staff that can research, develop, and support these algorithms.
Which is an interesting one as well, which is like, they don't think in Europe that, AI or new technology will kind of get the traders out of business, but it's more like they perceive it as something that they need to be retrained for, which is kind of positive for us as well, because I remember when we were talking about AI, even with Nick Ravi, he was a bit afraid of talking too much about it because, the idea was that, he was afraid that we could have kind of highlight the fact that we didn't need the traders anymore. Instead, what the research is saying is, yes, we're actually very keen to introduce new technologies, but we also are aware that we will need to be retrained because we might not be able to, get make the best out of the technology because we don't have the skills to do that. I think that's also interesting, I think, to highlight. And again, it's in line with our messaging overall at Bloomberg, in terms of how we think about automation and the role of the traders. And did you have any other specific question, Lily? I know you had a couple that you wanted to ask Ravi.
Yeah, just thinking leads on quite well from what we're talking about, actually, but one of the questions was about how the hype around AI and machine learning has been going on for a while, but firms still seem unsure where to start and feel underqualified to oversee transformation. So what kind of advice would you have for people who find themselves in that position?
That's for you, Ravi.
Sorry, what was the question?
What kind of advice would you give to people who feel unsure where to start and feel underqualified to oversee transformation around AI and machine learning?
It's kind of what I just said, right? So have a plan in place in terms of where exactly you're trying to use the technology. What part of the life cycle are you trying to actually deploy AI in? Have clear targets, goals. What is the outcome variable you're trying to measure? Literally just what I just said. So.
Yeah. Do you mind if I move on to the rest of the questions? I'm just conscious that we don't have a whole lot of time left.
I've got 5 minutes, so yeah.
Yeah. So a key concern for those looking to automate trading desk is their data quality. How and why should this be addressed?
So I think you can probably borrow some of the language from the US report, right? Yeah. I think we talked quite a bit about data quality, but the general theme that the automation is only as good as the data you've got. So if garbage in terms of data, then you're not going to successfully. It's going to be much more challenging to automate something, right?
Yeah.
So but it's just the nature of the markets, right? It's OTC the market, so it's general. All the market wants better data, but there's no silver bullet here. It's a combination of trying to get as many different data sources as you can, different places, and then trying to scrub that data and try to come up with something which you think is better than what your peers have. It's kind of an ongoing challenge there, really.
Yeah. How do you think trading desks should approach the task of finding a technology provider?
I mean, again, it's like you're looking. I think we talked about this. I feel like I've said this before, but just look at what are you trying to get from a technology provider in terms of automation, right? So what is your automation strategy and roadmap? What are the things you care about in terms of flexibility, control, cost to deploy? Because you need to integrate. This needs to be integrated into everything else your existing architecture, right? So orders need to come in from the order management system. You need to have that link in place. Obviously, all this plays into our strengths because we're integrated with hundreds of clients through our EMS solution. So the cost to integrate to us is quite low. And it's a highly flexible solution that uses a lot of the different data products that Bloomberg has.
Yeah.
I think on that one thing that I wanted to highlight in Europe, Ravi, the first criteria based on research to select a vendor was the track record of the company, so literally the reputation of the company. Is that in the US was the 24/7 support service, which.
Yeah, but I kind of. Yeah, but again, I wouldn't draw. Again, you're drawing highlights between those two, and I'm kind of a bit dubious about doing that stuff because it just probably a function of who you are. It's only 100 people, right? And I don't know the different.
The reason why. No, I agree. The reason why I like it is because I think that the fact that they are looking at the track record is actually pretty interesting because they don't even cost, for example, wasn't the first thing that we had in the responses for Europe, right? And then the first thing for Europe was actually the track record. So the fact that the company has a continuous good reputation seems to be a pretty big deal in Europe. Regardless of what the US said, it's something that I think I found it interesting when I saw it because we had a lot of criteria in there. And the first thing that these 100 people selected, and I think was quite a lot, was more than half, was actually the track record of of the company, which is something that for Bloomberg is a lot, right? Because that's what we've been trying to do since we started the business, right?
Course,
Be everywhere when we want, every time they needed something. We even create applications before they know